Is Mike in the Science of Man Magazine Daily Guides for this month by Michael Gott, Reverend Michael Gott. And it's really intended for those of us who are at least in middle age and beyond. The ones of us who are out of, shall we say, our youthful period in life. So this is what it's about. He's called it Embrace the Change. Now, the first quote is from a Houstonian, probably familiar to most people around, a lot of people around the world, not just in the US, Brené Brown, who says, vulnerability is the birthplace of an, oh no, my mouse is going silly. Hang on a second. Here we are. Vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change. Vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change. Brené Brown. And Ernest Holmes in This Thing Called You. Probably a well-known book for those of you not familiar with it. This Thing Called You. He says, the thing that stands between you and your greater good is a thing of thought and nothing else. The thing that stands between you and your greater good is a thing of thought and nothing else. In other words, it's done unto you as you believe, right? And this is Michael Gott, who says, as I approach my 60th birthday, 60 sure seems a lot younger to me than it did when I was 20. Yep, amen to that. Although I feel an uninterrupted line of continuity with the person I've always been in my heart and mind, I sure can see the changes in my body. Like many, I've struggled with that from time to time. And as I always try to do, I've used the struggle as a doorway into my growth and into my healing. For the last 5 years or so, I adopted a practice for my self-talk around my body's aging process. He says, anytime I catch myself having a moment of judgment or pain about it, I say to myself, my job is to love this body as it ages. This means to love it with good nutrition, exercise, and rest. It also means to love it through its inevitable changes. Gravity happens. Imelda Shanklin, an early Unity writer, said this, if you said that because of years you cannot do the work you once did, I will answer your charge against yourself by saying that life does not expect you to do the work you once did. There is a better work for you. We don't have the body when we were 30, 18, or 12. Why? Because something different is needed now. Can we allow ourselves to be human, aging in grace and serenity, or will we resist it and will we suffer? Well, it's kind of ironic that just about a week ago, they were celebrating the Golden Girls, you know, the TV program from whenever it was. I don't know when it started, 70s, 80s, whenever it was. And the four of them were older ladies, and one of them who was actually, I think she was the youngest of the group, but she played the oldest one on there. She was supposed to be, I guess, in her 80s. I'm not sure anyway. But the bottom line is they played four older ladies, and it's, as probably most of you know, it's an incredibly popular program. And I was impressed by how they just managed to go through the whole story of getting older. And one of the ladies, you know, she always fancied herself as kind of a sex symbol. And it didn't really occur to her that she got older. She just pushed it at one side. And then Betty White, who also lived to be 99, if you remember, was active way into, well, pretty well up to when she passed away. I remember not too long ago, she was in a commercial, a TV commercial, where she gets bowled over and pushed down in the mud. And she was well into her 90s when she did that. So whenever I'm feeling, gee, I don't really have all the energy I have when I was 30 or 25. I've got a lot more wisdom since then, and I can look on life in a different way. and I don't have to compare myself to other people anymore. It's kind of a cool place to be because whatever the outside world thinks, you know that you've lived a long life, you've learned a lot, and you have a lot to give back to the world still, and probably still will until you decide to walk off this planet and go somewhere else. So I think it's a good reading. I'm grateful for my body, and I bless its perfection in form and function. Yep, I'm grateful for my body, and I bless its performance, its perfection in form and function. So that's pretty good. So the next time you're feeling, if you're getting older, or you're already old, and a bunch of us technically are in that classification, right? Then let's just look at life differently and say, we've got a lot of experience. And nowadays, there's so much available to us to help us to live just a life of ease. I mean, by bodily ease. Do we have aches and pains? Yeah, but I think everybody does at every age. And I'm just grateful I'm able to do what I can do, go to the gym, etc., etc. I think it's kind of good. So today's lesson, yeah, I'm pretty impressed with it actually. And as I said, Reverend Lisa, my colleague, is always reminding us about self-care. And at 9:15 Central tomorrow, that's what she'll probably be doing. She will somehow work into whatever reading she's got the self-care function, which I think is incredibly important. And oh yeah, I did have something I was going to read. Michael Gott yesterday had, where the heck is it? Oh, hold on, I know how to get out. He talks about comfort zones, and I didn't read his reading yesterday because it didn't totally jibe with me, but it did bring back one thing. Bob Proctor, the late great Bob Proctor, who was my first real mentor, gave us this about comfort zones, and you can apply this comfort zone at whatever age you are. But I think it's kind of cool. It goes like this. I used to have a comfort zone where I knew I wouldn't fail. The same four walls and busy work were really more like jail. I longed so much to do the things I'd never done before, but stayed inside my comfort zone and paced the same old floor. I said it didn't matter that I wasn't doing much. I said I didn't care for things like commission checks and such. I claimed to be so busy with the things inside the zone, but deep inside, I longed for something special of my own. I couldn't let my life go by just watching others win. I held my breath, I stepped outside, and let the change begin. I took a step, and with new strength I'd never felt before, I kissed my comfort zone goodbye and closed and locked the door. If you're in a comfort zone, afraid to venture out, remember that all winners were at one time filled with doubt. A step or two and words of praise can make your dreams come true. Reach for your future with a smile. Success is there for you. So with those words, I am going to sign off. Please remember, Creative Life Spiritual Center, tomorrow morning, 11 a.m., in person or online on Facebook Live, our service. And as I've already mentioned, Reverend Lisa at 9:15 tomorrow morning. I'll be back about 5 tomorrow evening. For the rest, please have a wonderful day. And my prayer is this. I know for each one, as we move along, as we move through life, and as we progress in years, we gain in wisdom and we gain in moral strength. And that as we daily step outside of our comfort zone, we experience life in a new and wonderful way. And I claim this as truth in the divine law, the divine mind that always says yes, and so it is. And in gratitude, I say, Namaste.